This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day. Carefully crafted for you by humans. So meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unified Purpose, the show where we share inspiring tales of compassion, resilience, and community spirit. I'm your host, Shannon, and I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Regina from Black Women Talk Tech. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Let's start the show, Regina, by telling us a little bit about yourself. Tell us why this organization exists in your words, why it's important to you, and kind of how you got to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So Black Women Talk Tech is one of the largest resource platforms for women of color in technology. We educate, amplify, and fund women of color to build billion-dollar businesses. We think of wealth creation as either building a business by yourself, so being an entrepreneur, becoming a tech founder, or working in technology. So, women are becoming engineers, product developers, product managers, project managers in tech, and having, 6-7-figure, careers, 6-7-figure salaries working in technology. So the industry in and of itself allows for outsized opportunity, and amazing, careers to build, wealth and create opportunities for generational change in underserved communities. So we've been building this business since 2017. My business partner and I are both tech entrepreneurs, and we intimately understand these challenges. When I first started my business, I had no idea what I was doing, and I did not know what Python and Ruby on Rails and all these different languages were. I had so much trouble finding a CTO. I didn't know what all of the different, jargon and what a SAM and a SOM and, just all these different things. And, no one was very welcoming in trying to help me and provide those resources. And so I said, well, if, I'm not getting a seat at the table, it's time for me to build my own table. It's time for me to, build my own chair. And that was really the impetus behind creating Black Women Talk Tech. And so we're here to set women up to win. When you support a woman, you're not just helping her, you're helping her children, her community, her church, her school. You're creating a ripple effect that lasts for generations. And so that is the why, that we do what we do. Because it's always bigger than me. And we've seen the impact of the work that we do already, over these past several years. And we're excited to be able to expand on this and be able to impact not only communities here in the US, but we've been able to expand abroad globally as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. I truly understand this problem, having just spoken to women in college in the STEM field. This is something that is widely, even talking to an organization before this about women in STEM being like in general, just being disenfranchised and kind of being pushed out of the field slowly over time, if not immediately. So I am so happy to hear about this. What I'm curious about is if you could talk about what specifically in your journey before creating this this organization did you see that was missing that you wanted to provide, and what kind of things and programs and resources did you provide with this organization that you felt would be helpful from your own experiences?
Absolutely. Definitely the education, but broken down like a third grader, right? Like I think there's times where you get this education and it's done in a way that's fast and, you've got to pick it up, like I'm not, first of all, I'm a non-technical founder, meaning, I'm not an engineer. I don't have an engineering degree. I came into tech as someone that had, just a vision around a business idea. So I come to it as someone that, knows that there's opportunity, but, you need to know enough to be dangerous, right? But like there's so many different opportunities in tech that don't require you to know code. And I think that there was definitely just so many assumptions that I made that like the only people that are in tech are engineers. And so there's nothing here for me. And I think that, the education that we provide is one that's like, hey, look, there are so many different there's so much here for you. You can be in UX, UI. You could be a product manager, project manager. You can be in sales. You can be and now with AI, like a lot of people in coding are honestly becoming obsolete, with vibe coding and, a lot of other new innovations. There's lots of different, there's literally like an endless amount of opportunities that aren't even connected to coding and engineering anymore. So I think the thing that was so important to me was like to remove the velvet rope, right? Like to remove the curtain and to say, hey, look, you can do this too. And I think it was this gatekeeping that was happening that was driving me crazy. That was just like, why is it that more people don't know about this? And, you can do this. Like there's no reason why you can't do this. If you can sell on a Macy's sales floor, you can sell at Google. If you can project manage in a school district, you can project manage at Microsoft. Mm-hmm. There is no difference. The only difference is you can make 6 figures at Intuit and you make 4 figures. I mean, whatever, 5 figures for, whatever the local organization or local company in wherever you live. So I think technology allows us outsized career gains, and I think, but what it also does is make you feel intimidated. And so that is the thing that I think is so important in, the conferences and conversations that we have, is to break it down and and not make you feel intimidated by wanting to ask like the simple questions. I didn't say dumb. I said simple questions. Right.
So there are no dumb questions.
There are no dumb questions, but we do. But the internet is free. And we can research, right? Like, research is easy. With the advent of the internet, you can research. There is a ridiculous amount of information on YouTube now. And now that we do have ChatGPT and Claude and all of these other amazing AI tools, the amount of information can now be overwhelming. So now what we also have to do is edit, right? Like we also have to streamline and filter information so that we're serving up the information that's relevant to you and relevant to the specific type of concerns or problems or issues that you're having. So, we specifically focus on either early stage founders. So founders that are just now starting their career journeys. You might be a pre-seed founder that's just now starting their fundraising journey, or, a founder that's seed raising maybe a seed round of venture capital funding. So they've started to get a little bit of traction, but need that extra bit of cash to get themselves going in a major way. So, I think that there's lots of different stages, and we're here to provide the education at that particular moment.
Yeah, no, I 100% align with I feel like a lot of conversations about moving into a certain industry, specifically the tech industry, is all about understanding that it is accessible, but the language and the conversations around it make it feel like it's inaccessible, especially for so many groups, because it's they don't want to dumb it down for you. They want it to be, and dumb it down is not even the word that I should be using, but they don't want to use accessible language because they want it to feel exclusionary. I think a lot of the time, like
Absolutely.
they made their way to wherever they are and they want to feel important in that space, and therefore language is not inclusive. Something that makes me so angry even in my own field is seeing a website in which a client would not understand, like a normal client that is not well versed in that field would not understand what this product, service, whatever it makes sense, does. And that doesn't make sense. Like that doesn't like and that's exactly going into the tech industry. It's like you can do what you're doing in an adjacent, like if you're in the same position, you can do it in another field, but it feels inaccessible because of the almost aura around the field and these misconceptions.
Right.
Of,
and this is by design.
Oh no, you're gonna keep going.
Absolutely. I mean, this is by design. There's this idea where, you know, it's only meant for certain people. It's only meant for, you know, the bros, right? Like it's only meant for the guys from Harvard and Stanford and MIT. It's only meant for, you know, these particular techies. And that's what we're overcoming. No, it's meant for women. It's meant for, you know, folks from Newark, New Jersey. It's meant for, you know, Black guys from Alabama. You know what I'm saying? Like it's meant for everyone. And you know why? Because innovation comes from everywhere and ideas come from everywhere. And you'll be missing out on that $1 billion idea that makes everyone money. Okay. Everybody likes money. So it would behoove you to encourage everyone, right? To, you know, to get in on the idea and the innovations that come from everyone. So that's the part that I think, you know, smart teams, smart businesses, smart business owners understand when they're trying to engage the innovation economy and getting everyone involved in, you know, building the right type of tech.
Exactly. And the advancements in technology happily are making knowledge more accessible in general. So to be able to learn in so many different industries about something that you've never even been involved in or introduced to, but you want to stick your toe in, so to speak, is a wonderful opportunity. But to have resources to excel in that space is really important. And that's exactly what you're doing. For when you guys are your community-based projects, so like the retreat that you guys have and different programs like that, what throughout creating these kind of experiences that are extremely helpful in the growth of different populations, when did you have the moment where you were like, wow, this is something that is really important and something that is really exciting to me?
Yeah, so I think that moment happened in 2019. So we started in 2017 and, you know, we were really just having like a meetup. It was just, you know, hey, do folks want to get together and, you know, learn about fundraising and like building businesses? We would have a pitch competition. We would, you know, bring people together. And so that was like 2017, 2018. But then 2019 was when we were like, all right, we're going to really put some resources into this and make it big. And people came out, like it was packed and like more higher profile people came. And then we were like, wait a minute. Whoa. Essence is here. BET is here. Like what? What? And mind you, we did not invite them. Like they found out about it. You know what I'm saying? Like they were like, what is this Black Women Talk Tech thing? Like I'm hearing about this. Like we need to be there. And mind you, like we didn't even know. We were just like reading the attendee list, right? Like we're reading as people are registering, you know, we're seeing people register and we're just like, what? Who are these people that are like, how are they? And we didn't, you know, we had no marketing. So it was all word of mouth. So, you know, it's not like we were out here asking people to come. We just were throwing it out here, seeing like what, if you come, great. Like we didn't know. And so that was really when we were like, oh, people are finding out about this on their own and saying, I need to be in the building. And that was when we were like, oh, we need to really validating that, that hosting this Roadmap to Billions conference was valuable to the community. They wanted the content, the way the content was being delivered in the form of, the types of conversations we were having, the activations that we were, wrapping around the keynote sessions and the panels were resonating, and people were just finding out about it. Like I had mentioned, we were looking at the attendee list and we're like, wow, like this person's coming, like what is going on? So that was really the year that we were like, okay, we should, and mind you, we're still working on our own startups. And so this was just a passion project, something we were doing on the side, not our main job or like our main focus in any way, shape or form. And so, that was really when we said, okay, this is something like that was cool. But it really wasn't until 2020, when COVID hit, that we were like, okay, this is, and really also, fortunately, the murder of George Floyd, that we said, okay, that this is something that's much more meaningful and that could have, much more lasting effect. And that's, also when kind of, the organization started to grow exponentially because, when you're on lockdown and moving to virtual, then, there was much more of an attention towards getting information online and having to get information online because you couldn't meet in person anymore. So lots of changes. We've been through a roller coaster over the past 9 years, and next year will be year 10. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
That is a big milestone. Yeah, for any nonprofit, but specifically this is absolutely, that's super exciting. I'm really excited for you. Are you doing anything big to celebrate the 10th anniversary?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll be looking forward to this.
Yes.
Well, so speaking of these kind of harsh realities about the community and why this is so successful, which is wonderful, but also unfortunate because of the lack of resources, which is why an organization like yours exists in the first place. What you talk about mentors and focus on them having to kind of tell it as it is and should, because there's these realities in which, people need to be made aware of when going into a certain place. What is kind of a harsh truth that you've had to explain to a group in which may have not known about it before going into their industry?
A harsh truth that they didn't know before?
Yeah, that maybe you had to prepare them for.
Well, I think that a lot of early stage, or I think that a lot of entry level tech professionals focus so much on getting into tech versus staying in tech. So there's one thing to like get the job, but there's actually more of a challenge in retention than actually the recruiting aspect. So I always talk a lot about, it's not just getting in, it's staying in. That's much harder. And so, you're actually right in terms of like the mentorship and the sponsorship and developing relationships, not only at your company, but at other companies is much more important and much more challenging to do, than, interview skills and resume writing, right? So, how you're developing kind of your overarching toolkit of developing your career is really important and it has to be strategic. This is not just, hey, I've got a job, I'm so excited. You must be flawless at your job, right? Like you need to be good at what you do. So that's a non-starter. Okay. Then you can think about, Like, what does it mean to rise through the ranks? What does it mean to get promoted? How do you think about your career trajectory and your performance reviews and so on and so forth? But like, to do all of those things, you have to stay at some job. Like, I know, the young folks like to jump from job to job to job. That's nice, but you still have to be able to, for your career, to tell some sort of story. And so I think that's sometimes a little surprising for entry level, like, new, younger professionals, when they're just so focused on like getting a job. Then they get there and they're like, oh, wait a minute, there's more to do. Yes, there is a lot more to do.
Yeah, especially with the job search being so hard, at least. I'm sure that once they get the position, they're like, oh, the hard part's over, but the hard part is not over.
No,
the hard part is being good at your job and working hard continuously.
That whole part. Yes.
No, it's definitely because of the journey being difficult. Sometimes it's like when you see the light at the end of the tunnel of having that experience and being able to get into that position, it's really exciting, but it's also something that I think a lot of even me as a young professional kind of realized once getting into the role that, okay, it's crunch time for life. That's kind of what happens. And it's definitely something that is an adjustment for sure when you put so much effort into just getting in the door. What is so you talked about earlier that you're kind of just getting into like globally expanding, which is really, really incredible. What would you really like to see as part of your organization the most globally? Like, what element that you provide do you think would be the most exciting to you to be able to expand upon?
What element would we want to expand upon the most globally? It's a good question. I think that the conference in and of itself is the thing. Well, okay.
It can be multiple things. If you're like stuck on which one, you can do all of them.
I think there's two things. So Black Women Talk Tech and our core nonprofit arm is Talk Tech Association. So the two entities are kind of connected. The idea is to do more research. And so I'd love to be able to conduct more research around women entrepreneurs globally and better understand the differences between the barriers to entry for tech entrepreneurs in the US versus tech entrepreneurs in London versus tech entrepreneurs in Toronto versus tech entrepreneurs in West Africa versus East Africa and Kenya versus, Latin America versus, like just like what are those barriers and how similar they are. We have already seen quite a closeness and similarity. But to tease out a little bit more of that, I think would be really interesting. So I think some research around that could be really powerful, and serve that up to the UN under their SDG goals. And then I think also just our Roadmap to Billions conference series that we've hosted in London, that we're hosting in Toronto actually in October, is, I love seeing these different points of view in different countries and like how the stories are the same. Like it's crazy how, even with our story and how I met my business partner, here in New York City, how like we were working on completely different startups. Like I was working on a beauty tech app. She was working on some high tech, image recognition, machine learning, something. And yet we literally had like very similar problems, right? Like verticals, completely different industry verticals, completely different businesses business models in and of themselves. problems that we were having with building the business, scaling the businesses were the same. So, it's hard being an entrepreneur, period. Whether you are a woman, whether you are a man, whether you are Black, whether you're white, whether you're in Silicon Valley, whether you are in Durham, North Carolina. So like that, and most businesses fail, right? 60% of all businesses fail within 3 to 5 years. So these are the stats, folks, like regardless. So how do we stay in that 40%? Okay. What do we need to do to keep our butts in the 40%? That is our goal. And to try to level the playing field as much as possible, right? We are oftentimes set up to fail, right? We're oftentimes put in positions where, the cards are not stacked in our favor. So how can we help ourselves to set our own selves up to win? That is what we do at Black Women Talk Tech, to provide, the education and the resources and an extra hand and real advice and real, recommendations. And a couple of phone calls and a couple of emails are never going to hurt. So, as much as we can do that is easy. I won't say easy, but I say it's easy to do, but it does take, years and years and years of networks and relationship building and social capital, and all of those things. But when you can do it, then it's the thing that we can do.
Yeah, making connections is something that is incredibly valuable in not only getting your foot in the door, like we talked about earlier, but, being able to be in good rapport with different companies and different things like that. And it is very hard when again, like you said, the cards are not stacked in your favor and you don't have those connections. So to even know someone that knows someone is incredibly helpful. And even with the job market, unfortunately, the gray market is where you're most successful in getting somewhere. And it's sad, but it's also just the reality of getting a job. What kind of, so you talked about that your partner kind of had a very similar experience as you in the tech industry, even though you had completely different ideas of what you were creating. What do you feel are like some misconceptions about being a Black woman in tech than maybe another person or an entrepreneur in tech that is not?
I think that there are misconceptions around our level of expertise, level of education. Even though have some of the highest levels of education, there's always this assumption that someone else is the boss. Someone else is even the CTO, or someone else is the engineer. Someone else is the finance person, even though, or someone else is the marketer, even though I have an MBA in marketing from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University.
Yeah, sometimes you're all of those things and you're still like, oh yeah.
Right. It could be anyone else in the room except for the Black woman, right? Yeah. Because even though she's the most qualified, there's always an assumption that she's the least qualified for whatever reason. So I think that those assumptions are, can be exhausting, number one. And then number two, what ends up happening is when you make those assumptions, then there's an automatic discount, right? So that you're automatically discounting the business as a whole. And then you're discounting the value of the business, the opportunity that the business can provide. There's automatically a less than. So, from the resources that you can offer it, the amount of money it can generate, there's already a diminishing of the power it can provide. So that's dangerous to assume, and that's the thing that we push against.
What do you do specifically around this, like, kind of re-education of these assumptions and stigmas around a certain group within your organization?
Show them the money.
Success and statistics talk. Mm-hmm.
Show them the money, right? So, we've had businesses exit. We've had amazing companies that have exited. Put those women on our stages, give them keynote roles, give them opportunity to share their stories. We had Beatrice Dixon, founder of Honey Pot, as a keynote speaker in 2023. She sold her business for $500 million a year later. We've got to be able to tell these stories that there are women, Black women at that are doing quite well, and continue to do well, whether you amplify them or not. But we here at Black Women Talk Tech are going to amplify them. Mm-hmm. We're actually undergoing we're trying to at least undertake a research project of just literally like updating, the number of women that have raised Series B, D, E, venture rounds of funding. There was a time when we were tracking, how many women have raised over $1 million, but now there are tons of Black women that have raised 50 million, 75 million, and you've never heard of them. Mm-hmm. Because they're just going out there, minding their own business. And that's a beautiful thing, right? Like, we shouldn't be, I'm the 152nd Black woman to raise $1 million. Like, nobody cares. Like, right, like, theoretically, no one cares, but like, we care, right? Like, we should know about these things because it's still important. But now you've got quite a few women, not even just Black women, just women that have raised. You now have, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but you've got a woman that came from OpenAI or Perplexity. This chick is out here raising billions of dollars for her next AI. She is out here raising billions of dollars just like a dude. That is a big deal, mm-hmm. and not even batting an eye. And we for a time we thought that. Oh my God, the young lady, the woman that's in jail right now. Oh my God, what's her name?
I'm so horrible with names that I could never help you.
She was trying to she was trying to fashion herself after Steve Jobs, and she's in jail right now.
Yes, I know who you're talking about, but I'm not. We're
yeah, but we, for a time there was like this, she had kind of, made it look like, women that were trying to be aggressive were, trying to like bring us down or whatever. But like, she's gone and like people have moved on or whatever. But this woman with, and again, I'm bad at names because I'm sitting here like blanking myself, but I love seeing her story. Like, mm-hmm. she's out here kicking ass, and, I think she's a part of like kind of a bit of the Palantir mafia, but it is what it is. And
we celebrate men that do criminal acts all the time in movies and glorify them. So I mean, like,
we'll just sweep that part under the rug.
We'll successful and smart and still do bad things with
right. Yeah, traits. You can't win them all. You can't win them all. So it is what it is. But I just know that there are lots of benefits to being a woman entrepreneur, and then clearly there's a lot of obstacles to being a woman entrepreneur, and then you double those obstacles in being a women entrepreneur of color. So we are here to focus on the highlights, and we're here to focus on the wins, and specifically we're here to focus on the financial wins. It is startups that have a woman on their teams have higher valuations, which means that you get better returns on your investment as an LP or a GP. And you also have better exits when you have a woman on your leadership team. So show them the money. Mm-hmm. The end.
Yep. Statistics talk, money talks. You can't refute that. And I 100% agree with amplifying that too, because it's helpful not only to, empower these women that are so successful and to be able to showcase what they do, but showcasing that empowers other women to see that it's possible.
Absolutely.
Because I think that there's this semblance that you probably experience a lot or see a lot, is the semblance of hopelessness, that it's not possible because the people that we see amplified the most are not us, are not. And that
not
is
not at all. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, for sure.
Well, I love to end the podcast on a positive note because we're a little over time. Well, that was already a positive note, but I mean, a forward-looking note. So
Okay.
I want to know, what are you excited about for the future with specifically Black Women Talk Tech? Like, is there something coming up that you're really excited for? I know you said that 10th anniversary, or maybe something that you want to incorporate in the future, but you haven't implemented yet.
So well, I had shared this with you, I think, offline, but we're excited to relaunch our own podcast, which is coming back this fall. So we had a podcast a couple of years ago. And so we are relaunching our podcast this fall. It'll be called Currencies. So we talk a lot about all of the currencies that exist, not just the financial ones, but the relationship currencies, the cultural currencies that we carry as women, and looking at that intersection of wealth, women, and technology. We'll explore that every episode, and I will be your host along with some special guests and co-hosts over the course of each episode. So yeah, super excited about that. I think it's time for us to enter the chat and talk a little bit about some of our journey, as well as amplify, some of the stories that, we've talked about, either from past speakers that we've had at the conference, and, talk about the conference that's coming up. As well as introduce, some new products and services that will come online as part of our 10-year anniversary next year. So super excited about that. And then, what else is to come is, our Roadmap to Billions conference in Toronto, October 5th and 6th. And then Roadmap to Billions 10-year, I cannot believe it, 10-year anniversary in 2026. Next year, it's going to be wild. That's all I can say. It's going to be wild. It's going to be a good time.
I am so excited for what's to come, especially having a fellow podcast host. I'm super excited for that. I would love to send people your way too that I think align. I think I already have some people in mind. That would be really lovely. I love sharing with the podcast community is really lovely. So I really do like.
I love it.
So thank you so much for joining me today. This was an absolute pleasure. Learning about this organization was a real, just an uplifting my day. So I really appreciate it.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me, Shannon. I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. We'd be nothing without you. Please check out Black Women Talk Tech in the description below, as well as Regina's socials to be able to connect with her if you want to get involved. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Unified Purpose, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest. And to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.